Welcome, everyone, to another month's exciting segment of the Wisconsin Bankers Association Compliance Corner, the February 2024 version. And as always, Scott and I are happy to be with you today to walk you through a few of the latest and greatest compliance releases by our fellow agencies that we work with on a daily basis. And on the next slide, you'll see our short laundry list today of few things that we wanted to give you a current status of. And the first thing that we're going to touch base on are two different items that are moving their way through the state law making process. We're also going to talk about the CRA rule, that the rule was finally published, and the status of the court case. A quick update on an important date, March 3rd, related to SBA's PPP loan forgiveness deadline. And then a reminder about the regulatory agendas that the agencies post, and a website where you can find that information. So without much delay, Scott, I'm going to throw it to you.
Thanks, Heather. And as Heather said, we want to start off with just a quick status update on the Wisconsin legislative session and the activity that's been going down at the Capitol. So the two items we wanted to update you on are the Banking Modernization Bill and the Trust Code Revisions Bill, or we've referred to it as the Uniform Trust Code Trailer Bill in the past. And so the Banking Modernization Bill, this is the bill that has some concepts we've been working on for a while again. So recall that this is the one that has some changes to make lending to municipal borrowers less restrictive, increase the insurance fund for public depositors, removal of redundant disclosures within state law, among others. And so again, this has some concepts that we've talked about and have been working on again for some time, and happy to report that this bill is enrolled, which means an enrolled bill is one that has passed both the houses and means that there's now an enrolled version that's been agreed upon and is sent to the governor's desk for a signing. So we'll be looking at that, looking forward to that, to see if the governor signs it into law. And then we'll have a new update for you on the changes that will be put into place for that. Similarly, the trust code revisions. So again, the trailer bill, this is a bill we've been talking about and working on for even longer now. So 10 years of joint work between WBA and the state bar to update some changes, some technical changes to the trust code. These are changes that will primarily affect trust and wealth management areas. So it's going to largely affect that, and not so much the day-to-day operation of deposit taking for trusts or lending to trusts, but more the creation and administration of trusts, for example, for corporate trustees. So this bill is also enrolled, which means it's going to the governor for signing. And then we will have future resources forthcoming on these issues, along with others that we're still tracking this session. As of this month and when this video goes live, the Assembly has had its last floor hearing. So we just have a couple months left here in the session. And then again, keep an eye out for the resources that we'll be putting out to update you in full once the session wraps up. Next, we wanted to talk about CRA. So again, another issue we've been following for quite some time now. We've talked about this since its proposal stage, and we do now have a final rule, which was published this month in the Federal Register. The rule is effective as of April 1st of this year, but of course, as we've talked about in past resources, it has staggered compliance dates. So generally, the large portion of the new CRA rules will become effective on January of 2026. But we wanted to point out that final rule is now published within the Federal Register. We will be having more resources forthcoming to help you be prepared for this rule, but wanted to remind you of this and let you know that we'll be looking at it and keep an eye out for additional resources once we get closer and closer to the 2026 implementation date. Also, as many of you have likely heard, there is a pending lawsuit. So trade associations, including ABA, ICBA, within Texas, have sued the regulators issuing the CRA final rule, for exceeding their statutory authority in issuing the rule. Largely, the rule centers on that concept of an overreach of authority, so it gets into administrative law. But what the associations are seeking here is to void the final rule and pause its implementation while the case is ongoing, is the ask of the court. The primary complaint you can see we have for you summarized in these 2 bullet points on the slide. But just to kind of recap that, it's essentially that the new rule would create evaluations that go beyond what a bank's footprint would be. So essentially doing a comparison across the country creating this broader standard of how we're making these evaluations under all these new subsets, and losing the focus on a look at what is CRA, how a CRA is being met to the needs of a local community. And then also there's components within the rule that are being challenged that evaluate a bank's records of deposit products and other services beyond the scope of CRA to only meet how a bank is meeting the credit needs within its community. So again, we'll continue to watch, we'll continue to report as the case progresses, and have additional rules for you based on the 2026 implementation date for CRA. With that, I'll turn it over to Heather.
Thanks, Scott. As mentioned when we opened up the video, there is an important date that everyone should be aware of, that being March 3rd, in connection with SBA's PPP loan forgiveness. If you go back in our Wayback Machine, we've known this date for a very long time, and it's an important component because your outstanding PPP borrowers need to have their forgiveness application in to SBA by March 3rd. And one of the reasons why that's an important deadline is because beginning in early March, the SBA is going to refer PPP loans that are still outstanding in the amount of $100,000 or less over to the Treasury for collection. So if you have any outstanding PPP loan customers that have not yet filed for their forgiveness application, please outreach to them. We've provided a link to the portal that they can directly submit their forgiveness application right directly with SBA or also with you as the lender. But please try to reach out to those outstanding PPP loan customers and make sure that that forgiveness application gets filed by March 3rd. You don't want to miss that deadline. We've been trying to do some outreach to try to help those remaining PPP borrowers out there. There's about 5,400, according to SBA here in Wisconsin, that still have their loan outstanding and not filed for forgiveness at this point. So please get the word out if you have any of those customers. So then we also wanted to circle around to a topic that we haven't talked about in a while, but it's an important topic, especially for compliance folks that are needing to do any kind of planning as far as what's coming down the pike, what might you need to implement, how is it going to affect your institution. And the topic is the agency's agendas that they file every 6 months. And what we have for you is a link to this website, the reginfo.gov website, which has a search function where you can put in agency, and here I've got an example of the CFPB agency. And when you put in the agency, it's a drop-down box in the center field there, and you hit submit. What will come up is the information on the next slide, which provides for you a little nutshell of all of the different regulatory work that the agencies have in fact released within or plan to release within the next 6 months. So on the next slide is an example of just what you will find when you hit submit. And here is the result of the submit filing of the CFPB, where you'll see pre-rule stage information, what they plan to propose as a new rule, and then final rules that they plan to have out within this particular time period, that being the fall of 2023 is our current agenda schedule. And you'll see some familiar things on that list. Scott and I have talked about the overdraft fee proposal. We've talked about CFPB's proposal for fees to insufficient funds. So this is a little watch list of what the agencies intend to be filing, both in the final stage and in a proposed stage and in the preliminary. So you'll see there, we're still expecting a proposed rule on mortgage servicing. We can see that the CFPB is planning some type of Fair Credit Reporting Act revision, which would be probably a good thing these days. And another example, if you go to the next slide, you'll see another agency. We have here the FDIC, and it's the same format where they will list the proposed rules they plan to implement or release, I should say, for this next few months, and what final rules they wish or plan to finalize and get out to the public. So you'll see the FDIC official sign an advertising statement rule that came out. You'll see some Basel implementations. You'll see some compensation arrangement proposed rules which are coming. So these give you some kind of concepts of what we're going to be seeing on a rulemaking stage from the agency. One more example we have is the Federal Reserve, and here again, no surprise, you see some regulation cleanup that they plan on doing. Also, I think very interesting, the very top one there, we've got BSA. So here comes, at some point in the next few months, the realignment of the customer due diligence rule that we've all been waiting on, as the agency says that it's forthcoming. So we just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this tool is out there, and it's helpful to know what's going to be released by the agency. So we just want to make sure that you had that link. Every couple months, maybe twice a year, go on out and see what the agencies are planning to propose. There's a little nutshell that is on the right-hand side. When you click on the RIN for each item, you will see a little summary of what is going to be the main topic of each particular item. But it's helpful to know what the agencies are doing from a planning standpoint and from a budget standpoint. So we just wanted to share that. So Scott, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thanks, Heather. And we will look to wrap it up for this month. So thank you for joining us, everyone. As always, we want to remind you of the resources available through the legal department. So make sure to take a look at our website and make use of the resources that are available there: tools, toolkits, guides, articles, along with the various publications that we have. Of course, the Wisconsin Banker Daily, Compliance Journal, and the training opportunities that we have. We've talked about the training program that we launched this year. You can find more about that on our website if that's something that you'd like to talk to myself and Heather about as an opportunity. And of course, the compliance hotline. As always, make sure to call or email us whenever you have a question. If there's something you want to talk through, of course, any topics that we talked about today, be it a rule, be it, the legislation that we're working on and various aspects of that, again, or a question you have at your bank or a scenario that you want to work through. So with that, we will talk to you next month. Enjoy, everyone.